You're listening to the Sex and Psychology Podcast, the sex ed you never got in school and won't get anywhere else. I am your host, Dr. Justin Lehmiller. I am a social psychologist and research fellow at the Kinsey Institute and author of the book, Tell Me What You Want, The Science of Sexual Desire and How It Can Help You Improve Your Sex Life. In the previous episode, we explored why sex is such irresistible comedy material and the delicate line between diffusing shame and reinforcing it. In this episode, we're turning the question inward. And that's because research suggests that humor doesn't just make us laugh, it can actually strengthen intimacy in relationships. In fact, studies show that couples who bring a little playfulness into conversations about sex report higher sexual satisfaction and stronger emotional connection. An appropriate and well-timed joke can lower defenses, reduce tension, and make difficult conversations feel safer. It turns out that a lot of the skills that comedians use on stage, including radical vulnerability, reading the room, adjusting in real time, and responding to feedback, are actually the very same skills that a lot of sex therapists try to teach couples every day. So this got me thinking, maybe there are some things that we can learn from the world of stand-up comedy that could help us to become better communicators in the bedroom. I am joined once again by Jenny Zagrino. You've seen her on late-night television, in film and streaming specials, and lighting up social media with bits that are bold, self-aware, and sharply observant. Jenny dives headfirst into topics like dating, gender expectations, and the messy realities of sex and relationships. You can see her in the new show Crowd Control on Dropout TV, and her most recent Don't Tell comedy special is out now. Today on the show, Jenny and I are talking about how humor works inside relationships. When does it bring people closer? When does it backfire? And what can we borrow from the world of comedy to make conversations about sex feel less high stakes and maybe even a little fun? We're not saying you need to turn your bedroom into an open mic night, but a little more playfulness and humor might go a long way. This is going to be another fun and fascinating episode that you won't want to miss. Stick around and we're going to jump in right after the break. Let's talk about something that happens in way too many relationships. The romance fades, the routines take over, and before you know it, you're more like roommates than lovers. Loss of intimacy is more common than you think, and it can have wide-ranging effects. It can create emotional distance, impact your self-esteem, and increase conflict. That's where Paired comes in, the #1 couples app that helps to improve your relationship and takes just minutes each day. Curated by relationship therapists, Paired uses expert-backed research to support making a lasting impact for couples. Here's how it works. You and your partner download the app and pair together. Every day, Paired sends you a 5-minute game, quiz, or question designed to deepen your relationship. Answer on your own time, and once you're done, Paired will reveal your partner's response so that you can have an open, stress-free, and honest conversation. One question we recently answered was, what about your partner do you find the sexiest? Both of us got a response that we hadn't expected. We both assumed that the other would tell us something about our looks, but what we really find sexy about one another runs much deeper than that. And that's one of the fun things about this app. We're always having new conversations and learning new things about each other. With Paired, you can start rediscovering each other one question at a time. Practice making your relationship a priority every day with Paired. Head to paired.com/Justin to get a 7-day free trial and 25% off if you sign up for a subscription. That's paired.com/Justin to sign up today. If you've ever wondered why love feels so intoxicating, why desire can be so powerful, or why heartbreak can feel almost physically painful, there's a biological reason for it. In his new book, The Intimate Animal, Dr. Justin Garcia, the executive director of the Kinsey Institute, explores the hidden evolutionary forces that shape our sex lives, relationships, and emotional bonds. Drawing on cutting-edge research in biology, anthropology, and psychology, he makes the case that we are, at our core, intimate animals, wired for connection, attachment, and desire in ways that we're only beginning to fully understand. If you're fascinated by the science of sex and relationships and want a deeper look at why we love the way that we do, be sure to check out The Intimate Animal, available wherever books are sold. Okay, Jenny, let's talk about how comedy just might make us better at sexual communication. So, for a lot of us, talking about sex is really uncomfortable because it feels so high stakes. And when a sexual conversation with a partner begins, we're often really on edge. But it turns out that a little bit of humor can actually help in these situations. In fact, there's actually research showing that couples who infuse a little humor into sexual discussions experience an increase in intimacy and sexual satisfaction. So why do you think that is? Why is humor such a powerful way of dialing down the tension around difficult topics like sex?
It disarms, right? You can't be mad at someone. You can't not like someone if you're laughing. And not necessarily at them, but like with them, right?
Yes.
You always like someone that makes you laugh. And so I think that when it comes to sex and sexuality and discussing it, if you infuse it with the humor, then it doesn't make it so serious. And I mean, in some ways, I don't know, maybe it's my own opinion. I don't think sex should be that serious.
Right? I totally agree.
I think that sex is really, it's fun. It's supposed to be like a fun, entertaining thing that you do. And it's lovely and wonderful. And it makes all the good feelings. So, when you're so serious about it, it's like, all right. That's why, like, you ever, when couples are like, well, we're trying to have a kid and they just hate sex. You can just see it because it's so serious now. It's like, I have to make life versus like, we're just going to have some fun. Like, I have a memory of a partner. I do OnlyFans stuff sometimes. That's like not nudity, but I dress up and I had like a nun costume and him and I just started dating and I put it on. And then like I got on top of him and was like, how does this make you feel? And he was like, this is a core memory now. And it just floored. I was like, that's so funny. And it made me like more endeared to him and more just like, felt harder. And I think that like all that stuff, it just makes you become closer because being funny is so wonderful and rare.
I mean, I've never done any nun cosplay in the bedroom.
Try.
Maybe I'll put it on my bucket list. But, when I think back to the sexual experiences that are most memorable for me, they're always ones that had some element of humor to them. Like oftentimes where something went wrong, like there was a little mishap, but we were able to laugh about it. And there was something about that laughter that just sort of diffused any tension that was there and just made it about what it was supposed to be, which is about having fun, And I think when you look at sex as like something that you do for fun or as a form of play, that just opens up more possibilities.
Flirting is fun. Flirty is banter. Like a great trope is like the asshole guy. That's like always like kind of sarcastic and da-da-da-da. Like I know that women love a bad boy, but it's like really because you have to have a certain level of intelligence to be funny too. So it's like, as a woman, it's firing on all speeds. You're funny, which to me already says that like you got intellect, you are witty, you are up for exploring who I am and my sensibility and what makes, like you have to try to be funny in some way. It's not like don't try to be funny, but you have to try to know what my sense of humor is. So you're already invested. So I think that humor, it helps so much in the whole dance of sex and relationship.
Yeah. And what you raised right there was something else I wanted to bring up at some point during this discussion, which was how having a good sense of humor doesn't just enhance communication, it's also sexy, right? And, that can make somebody more attractive. And if you look at research on, what are the top traits that people are looking for in a romantic partner, sense of humor is way up there on the list. And what you said about, it connotes intelligence, that is a big part of the reason why, because in order to be funny, your brain has to be working.
You have to be smart.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to have like a little bit of intelligence to be funny. Even the guys who play dumb, but it's an act and you know that it is and they are still funny. So I couldn't date someone who didn't make me laugh.
No, I couldn't either.
Yeah. And I couldn't date someone who even during sex wasn't funny or fun about it. It'd be a little silly. Put a finger where it wouldn't normally go. Ooh, that's hilarious.
Well, maybe that explains this research finding. There's actually some data that shows that women who rate their partners as being funnier actually have more orgasms. And so maybe there's something about this where that humor, maybe it just creates more relaxation and comfort, or maybe it just opens up the possibility of going off script and trying new and different things. I don't know.
I think so. I think that there's an element there of that. I think what I like about a partner that is funny is it is a level of new vulnerability. It's vulnerability on top of being naked together. I think it, to me, donates a man who's just, and it could be woman, whatever, but a man who is more invested than the average guy. Who's like, I'm just here to bang. And I've had that. Sometimes That's all you want. You just want a guy who's here to bang.
Sometimes that's all you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're comfortable sharing, have you ever used humor, in your own romantic life? Like when you're off stage, do you find that you're still turning to humor to navigate awkward moments or diffuse tension? And, I'm wondering, like, as a comedian, can you turn off comedian mode? Because I know as a sex researcher, sometimes it's hard to turn off like sex researcher brain because I will still be in the moment, like analyzing my own sexual experiences sometimes. It's like, I don't want to be doing that right now. How do you navigate that, being a comedian professionally and then in your personal life?
To me, one of the traits I love in a partner is when I don't have to be the funny one and they are the funny one. And I can just enjoy it. And like, it takes so much pressure off of me because I have to be funny all the time. So it's so nice to be with someone who it takes the pressure off. And also too, doesn't think they have to be funnier than me. I hate that. I hate that because it's like, it's kind of also why I don't date fans ever, is because it's this kind of separation between us of like, oh, she expects me to be funny. And I do, but I don't want you to know that I expect you to be funny. Or I have to be funnier than her. And it's like, no, you don't. You just should be. You don't have to try, but you just should be. Or at least like at my level. And that's, a couple partners that I've had that were just so, to me, I found them to be so funny, were the ones that I just fell the hardest for. Because it was so relaxing.
Were they comedians?
No.
Okay. I was going to ask, so would it work being with another comedian, or would there be too much like one-upmanship there?
I've been with comedians and there's competition that I don't like. When I was younger and we were all kind of open micers in the mix, young comics, still in the throes of, oh, we're comedians, we're the truth sayers. Then it's like, feels very beatnik, smoking cigarettes, making out with everybody. And now I'm at a level where I know what it entailed to get here, and I would never date someone in that mode because you're so just focused on comedy. So now I have to date comics who are at my level or above. They're all usually married or don't want to date other comics. And I'm like, yeah, me neither. So ideally, my next partner would not be a comedian, but could be an entertainment. That would be fun.
So there can be too much of a good thing in a relationship, having a little too much humor.
Well, I think that my job does entail a certain amount of ego and narcissism. So it's hard to have two of those in one place.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
So something I was thinking about before the show is how stand-up comedy, we can kind of see that as a metaphor for good sexual communication. So for example, a good comic is going to come prepared to be radically vulnerable. But as they communicate, they have to read the room. They have to adjust in real time. They have to respond to feedback. They have to actually make a connection with their audience. They have to try to put their audience at ease. So you've got self-disclosure and active listening, and you also have to get your timing just right too. So when you think about it through that lens, those are all really the same things that sex therapists tell people to do all the time, in terms of vulnerability, self-disclosure, picking your right time to talk about things, active listening. And, I'm not saying like, stand-up comedy is a metaphor for good sexual communication in that you have to be like a laugh a minute when you're in the bedroom. Like, I'm just saying that if you're looking at the broad strokes here, that maybe there's like some things that we can use to just try and better understand like what it means to be a good sexual communicator. So when you hear that comparison, does it resonate, or am I just like totally reaching here?
No, I think that there is something to that. And that's why people find comedians very sexy. Like, and male comics are some of the weirdest looking dudes you'll meet. And they have women throwing themselves because it is like, here's a guy who knows how to put his thoughts together and he can control a room and he has a certain je ne sais quoi about him. And I think that can translate into the bedroom. And a lot of the women think it does. I don't know necessarily if it does for all of them. I'm shitting on my male colleagues hard. But, women, I can't speak for men as much, but we just find confidence and vulnerability so alluring. And comics have it. If you're a good comic, you are vulnerable and confident.
Yeah.
Or at least you come off that way.
Right. I mean, to be a good comic, you have to be a really good communicator. And people might assume that that communication skill would transcend the stage and into the bedroom, right? So what is it like in terms of being a stand-up comic with a large following? Do you have a lot of people who reach out to you, flirt with you because they like assume that because you're comfortable talking about sex on stage, that you might be more like open?
Yes. I do get that. I've talked to like maybe 2 people out of my DMs. Both times have been a letdown, so I kind of stopped. I mean, even on dating apps, I don't say I'm a comedian. There's too much baggage with it for them. Not for me, but for the guys, there's too much. So I'd rather just meet, if someone's organic, I say like I'm a writer or I'm a performer, I'm an actress. Even actress is like also very weighted.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of expectation. And then when you say you're a comedian, there's a lot of men, and not all of them, immediately are like, I have to be funny. And then you go, oh, okay.
I'm not a stand-up comic. I'm a sex researcher, but I deal with some similar issues there in terms of like how people perceive me and my job, right? In terms of when they find out I'm a sex researcher, they're like, oh, I can now tell you all of my sexual secrets and you're going to want to hear about all of my sexual exploits. And there are others who have assumed that just because I'm a sex researcher, that means I'm like really good at sex and that I want to have sex with everyone and everything at all times. And it's like, yeah, let's have a little reality check here.
I don't need to laugh all the time. I'm funny. I have funny friends. Like, just make me feel relaxed and calm. Because I think, and I don't know how your brain works, but as a comedian's brain, we are always thinking. And there is a constant narrator on in my brain thinking of, is this funny? Is that funny? Oh, I'm observing this. Is that a joke? Is that a joke? I got to also think about the clips I have to put on. And like, there's so much that I have to think about. So ideally, someone who can relieve some of that pressure is so wonderful.
Yeah, I can relate. I've always got the internal monologue going, and I'm always analyzing things. I can't imagine what life would be like without it.
Some people don't hear a narrator. I have a narrator narrating everything that I'm doing at all times. I don't know how people just silence. What? Crazy.
I've met some people where I'm like, I don't think there's any internal monologue going on here. Like I can tell, like just based on interactions with them, if they're an inner monologue kind of person or not.
Or people who can't see things. Like when you say picture a beach, I can see a beach. And there's people who are like, I just know the feeling of a beach, but I can't see a beach. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's called aphantasia. And I find it absolutely fascinating. As somebody who studies sexual fantasies, for most people, a fantasy is a mental image. It's a picture. It's almost like a movie that you're watching in your brain. But for people who are literally unable to visualize mental imagery, their fantasies take a different form. And oftentimes they're more of a feeling than they are like a scene that plays out. Or maybe they'll have like an internal monologue where it's just a narrative-based fantasy as opposed to an image. And, the way I've heard people with aphantasia describe it is that sometimes their fantasies just feel very disjointed because they don't have the cohesive mental image to pull them through the whole thing. But everybody's fascinating in terms of how their brain works.
That's crazy.
So joking about sex is one of those things where it can be really helpful for setting everyone at ease and making it easier to have difficult conversations. But humor is also one of those things that can go so wrong so quickly, right? Like if your partner feels like you're laughing at them, it's probably not going to go so well. And, sometimes people also use humor as a defense mechanism. It's something where it's used to avoid or deflect dealing with the real issue. So there's this question of, the art of using humor to communicate about sex. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts on like, when is it helpful and when isn't it?
I think that when humor really works in the bedroom is definitely, I think, foreplay. Because kind of when they're in you, it's like, no, we're down to business now. Yeah, we're down to business. It's time to just focus on this. Like foreplay, flirting beforehand. Depending on your partner, you know your partner best. If they're into teasing or if they're into, being, I guess, made fun of or whatever, or maybe that's their kink. Maybe they like that. you're kind of the best judge of that. Just when they're inside you, just focus. I don't know. If you have their wiener in you, maybe it is funny to look up and be like, is this thing on? That's funny. But that might kill. You also have to be prepared that like the best joke that you're going to make in sex may kill the mood. You guys will have a great time and know it's funny, but it's going to kill the mood. Like one time a partner and I were having sex and like, a weird song came on and it like made us both laugh a lot, but it killed the, we were just like, okay, we're done. We can't recover from this.
What song was it? I want to know.
I think it was like a Cat Stevens song, like maybe not Moonshadow, but like some like weird, like really up, like ha ha ha, and we're like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had it with a partner though, where I've had them make fun of me for trying something, and I never tried it again, and I'm too scared to even approach that now. So, it can kind of go either way, I guess.
Yeah. And that gets back to when it feels like somebody's laughing at you. That's something that can really exacerbate feelings of shame. And especially if you try something or you, let's say, share a fantasy with a partner that maybe is a little on the unconventional side, if they laugh at that disclosure, like that's something that can really, really be detrimental to the individual and to their relationship, because, sometimes being laughed at is like the ultimate fear that people have.
Yeah. I mean, there are some things that I'm like, I would have a fear. I would have a fear about that for sure. I have a fear that, so what if my partner, to surprise me, would like dress up historically and I think it's so stupid? Like I've thought about this. I'm like, would I enjoy if a partner showed up in a Regency outfit? I think I would be like, okay, nerd, you fucking nerd. Even though I have the Regency outfit, I have the male Regency outfit. I will wear it. I will wear it for our dalliance. Okay, you just be you. So I don't know. I've thought about that before. I'm trying to think if I've ever outwardly laughed at somebody for their fantasy. I don't think I have. I definitely then just clocked it as like, this might not be the person for me.
Yeah. And I think that's the healthy way to think of it. It's just like, we're not a match, as opposed to that's funny. But yeah. And, in my work around sexual fantasies, I collected the fantasies of thousands of people from around the world. And I often share some of them in talks that I give. And sometimes you do hear people laugh and giggle about them. And, part of it is that maybe some of them actually do find it funny, but I think laughing is also a way that people often deal with uncomfortable situations. And so maybe it's not that they actually find it funny. It's just like laughing is sometimes an involuntary reflex to something that just makes us like deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah, they might not think it's funny. They just might be like, I don't know how to deal with this. Yeah.
And, that is something that a lot of people do, is they'll just laugh. It's sort of like the default response. So in stand-up, if a joke bombs, you don't blame the audience. You rewrite it, right? And I think that's another valuable communication skill to learn. Like all too often, we blame other people when they don't understand what we're trying to say, or we do often lean more toward defensiveness, but the better response is usually to rewrite, to figure out how to make this land. And I think that that's such a big part of like doing good stand-up comedy and also doing good sexual communication, is that willingness to recognize that like, maybe I didn't communicate this perfectly and I can learn something from that reaction, instead of just like saying, nope, they're wrong, and I'm just going to double down on it and go tell that same joke like over and over and over, because you're probably going to get the same flat response every time.
Yeah. Sometimes maybe it is just realizing that this isn't the person for you. This isn't your audience. Right now on the ship, these people are my audience. And so, if I want to get the job done, I do the standards, do the old standards, suck a wiener and go home. You don't need to pull out these theatrics.
And so you are recording this podcast on a cruise ship. So are you performing on the ship?
Yeah.
Yes.
I am. So I'm working. Yeah.
Yes. That must be a fun job. Life at sea, entertaining the masses.
I don't know about that. Yesterday I had a guy in full audience, sold out show, like every seat was taken. And this one guy was just like, you're terrible. Because I'm doing all my dick jokes. I'm doing like, it's adult show. I'm doing dirty stuff. I'm talking about joke about wieners, and the guy he was not about it. And did, ruined the show. And he was so loud. He's like, "You're terrible." I was like, okay. And then everyone's like nervous because they're like, oh. And they were all having a great time. And now this one asshole's shaming everyone for laughing. Yep. And then the vibe's off. See, there you go. Perfect example.
Yeah.
When you're at a sex party, don't shame.
No, don't be the heckler at a sex party.
Don't be the heckler. Just get up and leave.
Yeah. Don't ruin the orgy for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, Jenny, it was an absolute pleasure to have you here. I really appreciated having the chance to speak with you, learn from you, laugh with you. So can you tell my listeners where they can go to learn more about you and your work?
Yes. So you can go to jennyzagrino.com or Jenny Zagrino on Instagram. I'm also right now fundraising for my new comedy special called Afterbirth. It's about, starting over when life doesn't go how you planned. So you can donate to that. That's jennyzagrino.com/fund. And then I'm just all over the internet. So come hang out. And I'm going to be in your town at some point. So go look at my tour dates.
Great. Well, I'll be sure to include links to all of that in the show notes. And I hope you come to my town soon so I can see you in person.
Where's your town?
I'm in Indianapolis.
Oh. I'll try.
Maybe.
Thank you, Justin.
All right. I'll come see you somewhere else.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for listening. To keep up with new episodes of this podcast, visit my website, Sex and Psychology, at sexandpsychology.com, or subscribe on your favorite platform, where I hope you'll take a moment to rate and review the show. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, please consider becoming a Sex and Psychology Premium subscriber to enjoy ad-free listening for just $3.99 a month. You can also follow me on social media for daily sex research updates. I'm on Blue Sky and X at Justin Lehmiller and Instagram at Justin J. Lehmiller. Also, be sure to check out my book, Tell Me What You Want. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.